Forget the catalogs, forget the clean diagrams that pretend the Wild West was armed with one perfect bullet and a straight line of progress. The frontier didn't run on legendary ammunition. It survived on strange cartridges, risky experiments, and rounds that worked just well enough to keep a man breathing until morning. Out here, ammunition wasn't about brand names or ballistics tables. It was about whether a cartridge still fired after riding all day in the rain, whether it seated properly when dust filled every seam of your coat, whether it betrayed you when your life depended on silence and reliability. Some cartridges burned themselves away with every shot. Others could ignite just from being carried wrong. Some were brilliant ideas that vanished overnight. Others were crude, ugly, and stayed because they refused to die. Today, we're digging up the cartridges the frontier actually lived with. The strange ones, the dangerous, the forgotten rounds that fed rifles, guarded wagons, and decided who walked away when things turned ugly. If you want more real Old West weapons history without the Hollywood shine, subscribe now. Number 13, Pinfire cartridges. Before brass cases and sealed primers became the rule, the frontier flirted with something far stranger. The Pinfire cartridge, invented in France in the 1830s, was a technological leap far ahead of its time. A self-contained round when most shooters were still juggling loose powder and percussion caps. At first glance, a Pinfire looked ordinary enough. Brass case, lead bullet, but sticking out from the side was a thin metal pin. That pin acted as the primer. Strike it, and the cartridge fired. On paper, it was fast and efficient. In reality, it was a liability. That exposed pin didn't care where the blow came from. A hard bump against a saddle horn, a fall from a horse, a careless shove in a crowded saloon, any of it could set the round off. After the Civil War, Pinfire revolvers and shotguns flooded into the United States, imported cheaply and sold to settlers heading west. For a short time, they were everywhere. Wagon trains, stagecoaches, saloon drawers. Then came the accidents. Men learned quickly that ammunition, which fired easily, could fire accidentally. Stories spread of cartridge belts detonating, of riders bleeding before a fight ever began, of guns going off in saddlebags. By the 1870s, American manufacturers abandoned Pinfire almost completely. Rimfire and centerfire cartridges replaced it with brutal efficiency. The Pinfire vanished nearly overnight. Today, Pinfire shells survive as corroded relics pulled from ghost town dumps. Green with tarnish, pins rusted flat, quiet reminders that innovation on the frontier often came with a body count. Number 12, paper cartridges. Before metallic shells ruled the West, the frontier smelled of scorched paper and sulfur. Paper cartridges fed percussion revolvers like the Colt Navy, Dragoon, and countless cap and ball pistols carried by soldiers and civilians alike. Each cartridge was a rolled tube of nitrated paper containing powder and bullet. To load one, a shooter bit off the tail, poured the powder into the chamber, rammed the bullet home, and capped the nipple. When done correctly, the paper burned away completely when fired. Powder, paper, and smoke vanished together. A self-consuming cartridge long before anyone used that phrase. But paper was fragile. Moisture ruined it, sweat warped it, heat turned it brittle, and a stray spark could cause a chain fire, igniting multiple chambers at once. Despite the danger, paper cartridges ruled for years. They were faster than loose powder, easier to carry, and simple to manufacture. Waxed bundles sat in saddlebags and coat pockets across the frontier. Cavalry units relied on them. Civilians trusted them. And when they worked beautifully. By the late 1860s, brass cartridges replaced paper almost entirely. Paper ammunition disappeared the same way it lived, in smoke. Number 11, 50 to 70 government. Before the famous 45-70 dominated the plains, the frontier echoed with something heavier, louder, more punishing. The 50-70 government was America's first official centerfire cartridge, introduced in 1866 to convert Civil War muskets into breech loaders. The result was a massive round throwing a half-inch bullet over 70 grains of black powder. It hit like a sledgehammer. When surplus Springfield rifles reached civilian hands, buffalo hunters and scouts snapped them up. The 50-70 could punch through bone, muscle, and hide with terrifying authority. Recoil was savage. Accuracy demanded discipline, but the cartridge was simple to reload and brutally effective. For a brief window, it ruled the plains. Then technology moved on. By 1873, the Army adopted the lighter, flatter shooting 45-70. The 50-70 lingered a few more years among civilians before fading into history. Today it looks prehistoric. Thick brass, oversized bullets, a relic of a moment when raw power mattered more than refinement. Number 10.44 Evans. Some cartridges made history through war or fame. The 44 Evans earned its place through ambition alone. It was designed to feed one of the strangest repeating rifles ever built. The Evans rifle used a spiral magazine hidden inside the buttstock, capable of holding up to 28 rounds. To make that system work, it required a proprietary cartridge. The 44 Evans was short, bottle-shaped, and precisely loaded to fit the rifle's helical feed path. On paper, it looked revolutionary. High capacity, decent power, no reload until the fight was over. Frontier scouts and settlers were intrigued. A few buffalo hunters even tried them. Then reality set in. The feeding system jammed easily. Dirt and fouling ruined the spiral track. And the cartridge could only be ordered from the factory in Maine, thousands of miles away from where it was needed most. When the Evans Rifle Company collapsed in the late 1870s, the ammunition vanished with it. Rifles became curiosities. Cartridges became museum pieces. The 44 Evans proved a brutal frontier lesson. Capacity meant nothing without reliability, and proprietary ammunition was a death sentence in a land that punished dependence. Number 9.44 Russian. The 44 Russian wasn't born on the frontier. It started as a foreign military contract. The Imperial Russian Army wanted a revolver cartridge that shot cleaner and more accurately than existing black powder loads. Smith & Wesson delivered a thick-rimmed, straight-walled round with a heavier bullet and better powder burn. American shooters noticed immediately. Frontier marksmen admired its accuracy. Handloaders copied it. Lawmen adopted it. Even outlaws respected its balance and control. The 44 Russian became the first truly modern revolver cartridge in America. Its design directly inspired the 44 Special, and decades later, the 44 Magnum. Though it faded with the rise of smokeless powder, its influence never disappeared. Number 8.56 to 56 Spencer rimfire. Before the Winchester became king, the Spencer carried the weight of a nation. The .56 to .56 rimfire fed a 7-shot repeating rifle during the Civil War, giving Union cavalry unprecedented firepower. After the war, thousands of surplus Spencer rifles followed their owners west. The cartridge was fat, slow, and heavy, but it was self-contained, weatherproof, and devastating up close. For settlers, scouts, and wagon guards, it meant survival. Volume mattered more than precision in many frontier fights. By the 1870s, slimmer cartridges replaced it. But for a brief window, the Spencer and its ammunition changed everything. Number 7.32-20 Winchester. Not every cartridge on the frontier was built for killing men or stopping charges. Some were built for survival in quieter ways. The .32-20 Winchester was one of those rounds. Small, light, and endlessly practical, it became the working man's cartridge. Ranchers, farmers, and cowhands trusted it, not because it looked impressive, but because it solved problems. Introduced in the 1880s, the .32-20 could be fired from both revolvers and rifles. That mattered. One caliber, two weapons, less weight, less expense, fewer things to go wrong when supplies ran thin. In a rifle, it was accurate enough for small game and pests. Coyotes, rabbits, snakes near camp. In a revolver, it served as a modest defensive round for town work and emergencies. It wasn't powerful. Nobody pretended it was. Against a charging man with a repeating rifle, it was inadequate. Against a buffalo, it was useless. But most frontier life wasn't about heroic fights. It was about food, property, and getting through another week. The .32-20 fit neatly into that reality. Ammunition was cheap. Recoil was mild. Reloading could be done by almost anyone with basic tools. For decades, it quietly threaded through ranch life. It never made legends, it made meals, and on the frontier, that mattered more. Number 6.44 Merwin and Hulbert. In a century ruled by Colts and Winchesters, one company tried to build perfection instead of dominance. Merwin and Hulbert revolvers were precision machines, polished nickel frames, tight tolerances, sliding barrels that ejected spent cases while leaving live rounds in place, elegant, mechanical, expensive. To match their revolvers, they designed proprietary ammunition. The .44 Merwin and Hulbert cartridge looked ordinary, but it wasn't. Slightly shorter than a .44 Russian, rimmed specifically for their extractor system, loaded to burn clean and shoot accurately. Gun writers praised it. Owners admired it, but the frontier did not care about elegance. Ammunition compatibility mattered more than refinement. General stores didn't want to stock a cartridge that only fit one brand. Reloading was difficult. Resupply was uncertain. When Merwin and Hulbert collapsed in the 1890s, their cartridge died with them. No factory, no replacements, no future. Today, surviving rounds sit untouched in display cases. Bright brass, faded head stamps, proof that craftsmanship alone could not defeat practicality in the West. Number 5, .41 rimfire short. It was small, weak by modern standards, and terrifying at arm's length. The .41 rimfire short was designed for the Remington double-barrel Derringer, a pistol built for one moment and one moment only, ending a confrontation before it escalated. Introduced in the 1860s, the cartridge fired a light bullet at low velocity. At distance, it was ineffective. At card table range, it was deadly enough. Gamblers favored it. Saloon keepers hid it. Women carried it. Anyone who needed a last chance without drawing attention trusted it. The pistol slipped into a waistcoat pocket, behind a watch chain, inside a boot. When it appeared, it was already too late. Newspapers called it the pocket equalizer. Survivors rarely saw it coming. By the end of the century, stronger cartridges replaced it, but the legend remained. A reminder that fear on the frontier often arrived quietly, not loudly. Number 4, .44 to .77 Sharps. Before the Sharps rifle became legend, it needed a cartridge worthy of it. That cartridge was the 4477. Introduced in 1869, it was one of the first American bottleneck rifle cartridges. 77 grains of black powder pushing a .44 caliber bullet with authority. Buffalo hunters embraced it immediately. Flat shooting for its time, accurate, powerful enough to tear through ribs and muscle at long distance. On the plains, professional hunters depended on consistency. One shot, one kill. The 4477 delivered that reliability better than most early cartridges. But black powder fouling was relentless. After a few shots, barrels crusted with residue. Accuracy suffered. Hunters adapted, but technology marched on. Larger cases with heavier bullets replaced it. The 4477 faded, but its role was secure. It proved precision mattered as much as power and helped cement the Sharps rifle's reputation. Number 3, .45 to .75 Winchester. When Winchester unveiled its model 1876, it needed a cartridge worthy of the celebration. The 4575 Winchester was the answer. It was designed to give lever-action rifles the punch of a single shot. 75 grains of black powder behind a .45 caliber bullet, fast, loud, ambitious. On paper, it looked unstoppable. Buffalo fell, elk dropped. Bandits thought twice, but reality intervened. The toggle link action strained under the pressure. The cartridge swelled in hot chambers. Extraction became difficult. Power was promised more than delivered. For a few years, it was the prestige round of the frontier. Even Theodore Roosevelt carried one on early hunts. Then stronger rifles and better cartridges arrived. The 4575 vanished almost overnight, a victim of its own ambition. Today it stands as a lesson. Not every leap forward survives the landing. Number 2, .44 Henry rimfire. If one cartridge deserves credit for changing the West, it is the .44 Henry rimfire. Designed in 1860 for the Henry repeating rifle, it was one of the first reliable metallic cartridges ever produced. Self-contained, weatherproof, simple, 16 shots without reloading. No powder horn, no paper cartridges, no percussion caps. On the battlefield, it overwhelmed muzzleloaders. On the frontier, it armed settlers, scouts, and guards. It wasn't powerful at long range. It didn't need to be. Speed and reliability won fights before accuracy mattered. The .44 Henry gave birth to the Winchester legacy. Every lever action that followed carried its DNA. When bigger cartridges replaced it, the legend stayed behind. Because it proved something revolutionary. Firepower could change history. Number 1, brass-cased shotgun shells. Before rifles and revolvers defined the West, something simpler ruled daily survival: the shotgun. Brass-cased shotgun shells were the workhorses of the frontier. Reloadable, durable, versatile. They fired birdshot for food, buckshot for defense, slugs for anything that needed stopping. Settlers loaded them by hand, powder, wad, shot. Sealed with wax or tallow, fired, cleaned, reloaded again and again. Stagecoach guards trusted them. Lawmen kept them behind bars. Homesteads relied on them for meat and protection. No other ammunition fed, defended, and sustained the frontier so completely. If one cartridge ruled them all, it wasn't sleek or specialized. It was broad, brass, and booming. The West wasn't built on legendary bullets. It was built on ammunition that worked. 13 cartridges, each one a lesson in compromise, innovation, and survival. Some vanished quickly. Others reshaped history. The truth is simple. Guns didn't win the frontier. Ammunition did. And if you've stayed to the end, you've seen the West without myth or polish. Just powder, lead, and the choices that kept people alive.